Hi,
And we are live.
welcome to our show. Spanny's still recovering. I'm getting there, and Amber will be right back. I don't know where she went. Hi, Amber. We're live.
I had to get my energy drink.
That's okay. So we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Uh, I know that we talked about talking about the thing that Biden put into place that went into law on November 27th. Uh, And there's another part to that too. Biden didn't have anything to do with, and it's actually the federal government telling the states that they can no longer use TANF money to investigate families dealing with CPS. They cannot use that money other than what it's for. TANF is temporary assistance to needy families, not temporary investigation of families. The federal government also said that if they are caught using that money for anything other than families, that they will lose their federal grant. This is all 50 states, and they will also be monetarily fined. Um, with the Biden thing, um, it pretty much says we already know that um, the Families Act was put in place a long time ago, and it was pretty much to adopt kids out faster instead of keeping them in foster homes. But the Biden administration said that they have to go through every single person or fictive kin. And if people don't know what fictive kin is, it's where a person like a daycare worker, a principal, somebody who has a relationship with the child, that's fictive kin, before they can be placed into foster care. The second part of that is that when they are placed in fictive care and in kinship care, that they have to remove all barriers for these people to be able to collect the same amount of money that a foster home would get. Now, I agree with that because I believe children should stay with people that they know, right? It's all traumatizing, right? And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want my kid with kin. But at least if your kid is with kin, it's easier to get them back. You know what I'm saying? It might take you a little bit longer, and you have all the time in the world versus being in foster care where I think it's what, 24 months now? 24 months is it? Some states are doing 6 months. Um, so now the situation that I'm in, I was told that I can't do kinship care because I didn't quote unquote have a CPS case. Well, I'm not bringing CPS into my life. They can kiss my ass, and that's what I told them. Whether they liked it or not is on them, but I don't care because I fucking hate CPS. Um. Anyway, I believe that, and I do believe that as of January 1st, every state was supposed to follow this federal law and put it into place because for kinship and fictive kin, they had to remove all but three barriers. And the three barriers, of course, is murder. Okay. We all get that. Convicted. You have to be convicted, not just because CPS says it. You have to be convicted of abuse and neglect. And the third one, and I think we all can agree with this one too, sexual abuse. Because we don't want kids with people with those three crimes. We really don't. You want to add anything, Amber? Because I'm over here trying to catch my breath.
I'll try to be nice.
Okay.
I think my biggest issue with all of this is a lot of these CPS workers don't even background check the people that they send their kids to. And so when you're a parent and you're in the system and you're like, hey, did you know that so-and-so has 5 delinquency against minor charges, but you gave them kinship care with active protective orders, it just makes you wonder, because if they're trying to actually implement changes in the system that are positive, you would think that they would have the knowledge and the capacity to actually do what's best for these kids, which is, if there are domestic violence, those take precedence. That's a federal law. That's under 18 USC 5033. Like, you can't have one parent be ripped away, and you have to have access to your kids. And some of these kids that are being placed with kin are protected from those kin because they're witnesses, and then that allows them to be tampered with. And so, even though the Biden-Harris administration is attempting to, in my opinion, cover up their dumb effery, I mean, there's so much more to this, because it's like, define sexual assault of a minor. Was this an investigation that was criminally actually, processed in the aspect of, you're convicted of sexually assaulting a minor? Or is it, hey, this had a forensic investigation of potentially was sexually assaulted? And so when you think of all this stuff that they're doing in CPS, they're kind of like shitting in one hand going, oh, well, we did all of this bad stuff to all of these families. And then in the other hand, they're like, here's some sprinkles and a cupcake and some icing, and let's just try to make it better. I see the balancing of the scales with CPS as one of those things where it's like, I understand when there's like absolute circumstances that, kids need to maybe step away from that parent that maybe has a drug issue or something else. But when they're being ripped away, like kinship wise, what do you define as kin? In specific situations, I've seen cousins that have had full guardianship of their kids. And here we now are 5, 6, 7 years later, and mom's now using the system to get her kids back, but she trafficked them, and I think if they're going to use the funds to, say, okay, well, you're no longer allowed to use TANF. Well, in my opinion, you're no longer allowed to use Title IV, Title V, and when these agencies are being reported, who do you report them to? Because if you report them to the Social Security OIG, do they do anything? Is there any follow-up? So how many families are in this system currently right now that have been a victim of CPS that have not had their case reviewed? And with the Biden-Harris administration, is there going to be a push for an oversight committee? That if you've been a victim from here to here, we're going to, merit review your case. And maybe it's, a couple of scapegoats here and there, but if they're really going to make this push, in my opinion, they really need to overhaul and, review all of these cases, because there are certain situations I've advocated for, personal things and other families. And I'm sitting here going, that's great. I'm glad that you guys did this, but what do you guys do retroactively? That doesn't fix all of the damage that was done before you put this into place, so what is the process for that? And that's just kind of where my head's at.
Well, I do know that when Donald Trump had his first term, he said, and I have it somewhere, I'll have to find it. He wanted an investigation on child support in every state and on CPS, because why are the states, now this makes sense. Why are the states getting federal grant money through TANF and child support? Why are we making these parents pay it back? Why are they double dipping? So his administration was like, shut up, don't talk about it, right? But he signed the executive order. And then, Biden went into office.
But see, here's the thing on this. This is the IRS. Like, where's the IRS getting involved in this? Because they have a play in all of these families. You have a mom who's party one. You have a dad who's party two. That's a contract. Okay. So CPS, the states, with child support, that's a third party. So are these states actually keeping the financial logs that they're required to? Because that's actually IRS, crimes. And so is the Biden-Harris administration going to go back and say, hey, by the way, we now have no record. We have no record of, transactions between parents. That's where the child support needs to end. It's two parents, it's unconstitutional. And when you have a third party basically come in and uphold a contract between two parents, that's third parties. They can't uphold that contract. That's between mom and dad or mom and mom or whatever it is. And so it's like, we've allowed these family courts, we've allowed these individuals to literally come into our lives, to have order from chaos. And the problem is, it doesn't matter how bad the situation is. Everybody at some points are adults. So it's like, we shouldn't have to have a binding third-party contract from a state saying you owe $9,000 a month for your 4 kids. Well, now you're encroaching on my rights to be a parent. Now you're encroaching on my God-given rights that I gave birth to this kid. So it's like, this is bigger than just CPS. This is IRS. This is Treasury. This is money laundering. This is RICO. This is all of this stuff. And so it just makes you wonder, is the Biden-Harris administration going to thoroughly address the fact that, if you're going to address CPS and child support, well, what are you going to do? Put out a big freaking notice, go, hey, by the way, you never owed your child support. We just, wanted to create, double dipping. Or on top of that, we're taxpayers. We, the people, pay this money for these taxes. And we're paying for these entities. So it's like, at what point are you taking away from us? Because we're the masters. And now you're making us a servant. It doesn't make sense.
So with the ombudsman stuff, Kevin, with the ombudsman stuff, a lot of the ombudsmans will just sit there and watch. They won't do anything.
They don't have the power anyway.
Yeah. So unfortunately, they're supposed to have oversight over CPS. They really are. But in most states, they won't do anything to help.
And then that brings me to the question, who do you go to? Who do you go to when all of your public servants and all of your people that you are required to request help, aka in a CPS situation, if the attorney general won't investigate crimes, which would be impeachable for them, who do you go to? If the ombudsman doesn't do it, where's the accountability? And that's the other aspect that's not being addressed, is when these families are in these situations and you go for the assistance, and let's say you have something dead to rights, why aren't you getting the assistance? Are they so afraid to come out and say, oh, let's help you? Like, they took a duty under oath, just like judges, to be unbiased, to investigate, to do all this stuff. So, I mean, you guys have been in this for a long time. Where do you tell these families to go? Like, what is the best route if you're in CPS or you're fighting the system? Who do you go to? Because we all know at this point, law enforcement, they do what they want, and it's not fair. And I'm a little biased on it, but at the same point, if the ombudsman's not going to do anything, if the attorney generals are not going to do anything, if the governors aren't going to do anything, where's the chain of command? Maybe help families understand, what is that chain of command?
Well, there's a couple things. There is a National Social Workers Network, and a lot of social workers are with them. I'll have to get the exact website, but you can find out if the social worker that's working with you is with them, because what they do is, if you file a complaint, if they are there and you file a complaint, they are disciplined through their network. That's one. The other thing is, every town, city, county, whatever the case may be, has their own board of social workers. Okay. So you can go to the board of social workers. You can contact the regional. You can contact the district. Now, a lot of people aren't going to get very far, because let's not forget what we're dealing with. Okay. We're dealing with pure evil. Okay. Pure evil. And they all cover each other's asses. And even if you can prove they were wrong, whoever did wrong is going to get a raise and a promotion. So let's not play games and say that this will absolutely work, because in 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work. But you can actually go to your prosecutors too if you have proof of fraud, and they should be doing their job.
And if they don't,
But,
because of the conflict of interest, and all of the towns are paid, like, where do you go? There's no rest. There's no accountability, and I've seen it
but
across
listen,
the board.
but listen, the prosecutor is voted in by the people. Okay. Now, you know for a fact, Amber, that judges in Virginia are not elected. They are appointed, right? Just like South Carolina, which is a shame because we should be able to elect our judges. Because let me tell you, there wouldn't be the judges that are in now would not be in their office or on their whatever, their bench. Anyway, but you also have to start like Tanner said, well, I can't even say his name right. Mr. Downing said, you got to start filing criminal complaints in the federal courthouse. I'm going to tell you why.
Tammy.
Thank you. Because the federal government, he knows who I'm talking about. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. The federal government, the federal courts, they don't get paid for this. Okay. They actually watch. And I will tell you here, I had a civil rights attorney tell me out of his own mouth that anytime a family court in Virginia goes to federal court, they roll their eyes and say, oh God, what did they do now? Right? Because here in Virginia, he told me right out of his own mouth, the federal courts think family court is a joke. It's a joke. We all know it's a joke, right? These people, how can a guardian or a judge, how long is the case? Maybe 20 minutes. Maybe 20 minutes. Okay, so let me tell you, I'm going to say me. You can look at me on paper. I look like I'm slinging dope out my front door as many times the police been to my house. Okay? No bullshit. I told my prosecutor that I look like I'm slinging dope out my front door as many times as my neighbors call police on me for no reason. But when you get to know me and you know that I'm not playing your games, it's a whole different story because I look one way on paper, but I'm something totally different in person. And we all know that's how the game goes. No judge, no guardian, nobody other than people who quote unquote know you can actually tell anybody how you are as a parent, as a person, as a human being. This is my other problem that I have that I'm working on here in Virginia. I hate the word belief. Okay. Because the last time I checked, no social worker I've ever met, and I met plenty of them, over 35 years. I've not walked in one of their offices and seen a fucking crystal ball sitting on their table saying, oh, I believe I see Miss Wise is about to abuse this child here in the future. Who are you to say what I'm going to do? Right? Who are you to tell the courts that you believe I'm an abuser, but I've never been accused or arrested on any assault charge on a child? I'm not talking about an adult. Because some things just get your teeth knocked out your mouth, okay? Let's just be real. Nothing with the child. Nothing. But you think because I'm aggressive towards you that I'm going to beat one of my grandkids? You done lost your mind. You done lost your mind. Who are you to tell the courts that you believe I'm an abuser? And that's how I think most parents feel.
But see, and I think my favorite thing out of this is where I came from, which was Carolina. These judges are elected, okay? Well, these judges are elected with attorneys paying literally $5,000 for this judge that's presiding over the case. How is that not biased? And then these social workers aren't even licensed. They're not even required. So then there's no accountability when they're not licensed and they're coming into courtrooms going DSM-5. That's a felony practicing medicine. So it's like you think of all of this shit and it just makes you wonder, which is why I asked about the accountability, is there are a lot of families that I've helped in Carolina that are stuck in this system. They've gone to the Supreme Court. Within 48 hours, their wits of extraordinary relief have been denied. They have gone to federal court. Cases are being shut down without prejudice because, according to them, there's no actual cause. So what do? Because I can tell you right now, I know at least 100 families in this situation. Who do you go to? Who do you say, hey guys, hello? Unless you get an auditor. I mean, that's another thing. Get an auditor. Because there's no accountability.
Oh, and the IRS, Texas is actually suing the IRS right now over them releasing child support payments, right? Because they're saying that this person owes child support, so they're taking money from that person and sending it over. So the state of Texas is actually suing the IRS right now because of a what is the word? Because let's say me and you, right? We're friends, and they see that we're friends, and they hit my bank account for your debt because we're acquaintances.
Guilt by association.
Guilt by association. Dave's in the background in filing cabinets, guys.
Yeah. So Texas is actually suing the IRS for that very thing. But anyway, people need to start. Look, man, you will never get anything done in the state court. We all know that. Now, I will tell you the good thing about Virginia. They did a big old write-up. They want cases in the federal courts. That's here in Virginia. They said they're not getting enough cases in the federal courts. People need to start filing injunctions, federal injunctions, because you can file one on everybody or anybody. You can also send a color of law form to these people. At the bottom, it's cease and desist. There's a lot of stuff you can do. But the point is, it's all of it is meant to break you. Okay? The more emotional stuff they put on you and the more mental stuff they put on you, they want you to break. Where's Dave at?
Over here, building a filing cabinet. Let me just The one that's been commenting is somebody that's also been assisting with Families United. He's like the federal person. He knows not really federal laws, but he's got a very knack for stuff. So
let's just say pissing off the FBI, CIA, IRS, and anything that has 3 letters.
Woohoo!
That would be
he sounds like my kind of person.
So he very
Does
much.
Does he want to come on?
Oh, if you get him on, he won't shut up. And I say that in the most loving manner possible.
And sorry, my cat is very lovey today for some reason. So she's been popping in and out of the camera.
Here, let me see if I can.
We need some love.
Well, he does grievances like nobody's business. So, I mean, that is something that I can tell you a lot of us struggle with. And he just has this knack to just call them out. It's kind of like you, Tiffany, where you're just like, F it all. He's just right there. And I'm kind of like, all right, I'll just stand and watch this because it's, you guys all know, I'll growl, but I'm really just the cute, fluffy one that the minute some shit hits the fan, I'm like, you said it.
Yeah. Kevin, I threw a link in the chat. If you want to join us, feel free.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, but see, and look, I have to grab my head on this, right? Because let me tell you the hardest pill that I ever had to swallow. Okay. So many years I thought everybody was just like me. No. The hardest pill I had to swallow was I'm like, what do you mean you didn't stand up? What do you mean you didn't tell them you had rights? What do you mean they scared you? No, all men are created equal. I don't care if they wear a black robe, a bag, a prostitute. I don't care what title is. I don't care who they are. If we cut each
Stephanie,
other, we're
your
all
mic's
gonna
going
bleed.
again. Your mic's going
Huh?
again. Your microphone's going again.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
You just sound like a Wookiee underwater.
And Kevin's microphone is dead.
Oh, there's that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Well, it could be
And
my
Kevin-
voice too, because I'm still kind of winded.
No,
I'll
this
tell
is
you
the
what.
But that's okay. He can come on next time. But
When you started talking and you were like, not everybody's like me, y'all all know I have random like songs that pop into my head. Eminem Without Me keeps popping into my head. You know?
What is up with you? You're just uberly lovely today. I know. I love
but
you
we
too.
all have rights, right? We have constitutional rights. We have civil rights. We have all those rights. We have human rights. And nobody, and this is what frustrates me too, nobody takes the time to learn their Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the human rights, and your inalienable rights. Those rights can never be given or taken from anybody.
It's not that they don't take time to learn. It's that it's been deleted from the school systems and they don't get an opportunity to learn. If you look at Rhode Island, while COVID was going on, the entire student body put together a class action lawsuit against the state of Rhode Island for failing to provide civics. It was dismissed by Judge Wong because she wanted to be promoted to the Rhode Island Supreme Court by Governor Raimondo before she left, and that all happened.
And I know they took the Constitution and stuff out. Why would you want we the people to know what your rights are so we can rise above the government? What? No. I mean, it only makes sense. That's why they took it out.
I mean, I really think everybody needs like a pocket constitution. Like, this is where I'm at, because it's like one of those things where you can learn the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, but at the same point, until you live it, breathe it, smell it, you know, eat it, whatever, it's like you could go through this. And even though there's layman terms in this, there's a lot of stuff that kind of makes your head kind of tilt, especially when it talks about like you can attain your own counsel. Well, what do you define as counsel? You know, technically, I could pick my next door neighbor as counsel according to the Constitution. So why do we have a bar association? That's just a membership, that it's like frat club. So it's like, for me, I'm sitting over here going, we're either all going back to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and we're starting over, or we're going to keep playing these loophole laws. Because that's the other thing I've learned in this thing. It's like, for every piece of the Constitution and for every amendment, a president's son does something stupid. Okay. But now we're amending this, but you can't amend it. So it's like, they have made it very clear. And I think I sent you the video, and that you guys know I love TikTok, but it popped up. Somebody from the White House had posted, the federal laws are the supreme laws of the land. No, the Constitution is the supreme laws of the land. And you are putting this on ABC News, but you're putting it out to the people. And how many people don't understand that this is the supreme law of the land?
Tiffany's going to go off.
I just saw it, and I said it, and I was
She's
like,
an idiot.
but what do you mean the federal laws are the supreme laws of the land? Did you just discredit and state that this no longer exists? Because to me, I'm sitting here going, did this chick really say this shit? Sorry. And then it made me think of you, and that's why I said it.
She's an idiot. She's an idiot. And see, this is the problem, right? We should go to Congress and ask these people if they even know what the Constitution it says. Because I'm telling you, they take the oath to uphold the Constitution, but I bet you they can't tell us what's in it without going to read it. And people don't need pocket ones. I used to buy them and hand them out. I tell people now, you can download the Constitution in a PDF, do the federal, state, and the Bill of Rights and your Declaration of Rights in your states. Have that shit in your phone. Every time I get pulled over, the first thing I do is go right to my phone and pull out my Constitution. Here you go. What rights are we going to violate today?
By them saying that, it's basically, and I know Kevin will appreciate this term, it's a psyop. Psyop. It's called normalcy bias. So the more they say it, the more it actually becomes a reality. The counter to this is a lie uncontested becomes a truth. It's kind of like some of the things you see on the news nowadays where they'll sit there and be like, Trump's a racist or he's a Nazi. The more they say it, the more the regular plebeians of the world actually start to believe it and buy it and feed into it. So that when, and this is also creating that thing they call the Mandela effect, where people remember different things like Bernstein Bears and Weinstein, whatever the hell it is. It's that people are watching news while people are living reality, and those two people meet, and suddenly it doesn't jive. And they're like, no. Mandela was killed in prison. No, he didn't. He got out and live and ran for presidency. So this is just all about them trying to create their narrative and making it everybody's standard operating procedure. They want everybody to believe the same thing. So the more they say the federal government is who gives you your rights, then God doesn't give you your rights. The universe doesn't give you your rights. The federal government doesn't give you your rights. That's it.
Well, the federal government doesn't give you your rights. They're taxing you 84% of your income just in taxes. And that's income, property taxes, and everything else. So no, they don't give a shit.
I would say get the hell out of California then.
No,
He's
this
in
is the
Alaska.
continental United States.
Across
the board.
You can come to Texas. We moved to Texas from Connecticut, which is a mini Cali. And like my wife's practice, she went from paying 32.5% in taxes to paying 5.6%.
And half of the people are the politicians don't even abide by the federal laws anyway. So,
well, I saw something too last night, and it was totally, I almost sent it to you. They were talking about when you get arrested and you go to jail and they bring you in front of a judge, talking about making plea deals. You know, did you commit this crime? Like, how do you plead guilty or not guilty? And I literally was like, holy shit. I think it was like early in the morning. And the guy goes, you ask them to see the verified criminal complaint and you don't take a plea. And it's like, you literally hear and see all of this shit. It's all in our face now. And the problem is, unless more people are getting educated on what their rights are and how this works, you've got people like me 2 years ago where I would have been absolutely terrified in any situation because I didn't understand it. Well, now I'm like, I get it.
And yeah, I agree with you, Kevin. Not guilty, and I want a trial by jury. I've been telling people left and right not to do a plea deal. They only want you to do that plea deal, so they get a payoff.
Wouldn't that go with the 1099 OIDs? Wouldn't that go with the fact that before any hearing of criminal, they're required to show the performance bond? They're required to show the verified criminal complaint?
So I don't tell this to a lot of people, but I do some criminal cases. And I have one right now that's going on, and that they're trying to get him to take a plea deal. But if he takes that plea deal, he's spending 16 years in jail for something he did not do.
We'll agree to disagree.
So I told him, do not take that plea deal, just go through it. And so far he's been going through it, and they're finding more and more out that he hasn't done it. So now that they're really trying to push this plea deal on him, and he's like, no.
Well, I think the other thing is too, CPS, when you think about it, you're going in front of a family court. You know, they're literally sitting here accusing you of things that supposedly occurred.
Well, this isn't family court I'm talking right now. I'm talking criminal court.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they make that criminal. You know, some of these cases that they drag through family court, that's not even the right jurisdiction or venue. And so it's like, you've got these caseworkers who have no couth to go across state lines and do what they want. That's a violation. And then you have these caseworkers who get up on trial and go, well, we had no legal evidence and we shouldn't even be here, basically. And you've got judges that are like, Okay, well, we're still going to continue this.
Nice.
But again, every case requires a bond that has to be
Right
shown to court before the case
But you-
continues. Because what a lot of people don't understand, family, criminal, whatever, the 1099 OIDs is basically the tax implications that these judges are accountable for. And they have to file these forms with the IRS,
one at a time.
you know,
They
their
don't.
performance bond. And if they're not filing these, you know, IRS forms, then they're liable. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. You know, it doesn't matter if it's family or criminal. There are bonds that have to be provided in front of the court prior to any hearing to start. And I think that's something that's just crazy.
I had a guy tell me, take a W-9 to court with you, right? And when they start blah, 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 you just start handing them to the bailiff, to the judge, to the prosecutor,
Yep.
handing them out. He said, and watch how fast those people will leave the courtroom.
Yeah, because the other thing that I've seen too is where people are making judges their fiduciary for the tax implications. So it's like, how many courts do we have currently? CPS, because they're deeming that family, and some states are deeming it juvenile delinquency court. Regardless, where's the bonds? Regardless, did you file your tax forms? Because I guarantee you didn't. You guys just want to walk around thinking you own the place. Cool. I could go 4 more years and get my law degree and go sit on a bench, you know, but I don't get it, you know, and these are things that we do, you know, all of us here have been bringing forth as these families that we're helping, we're like reminding them, these are your rights. This is, you know, hey, this is what it means of a performance bond. This is what it means for this, you know, and I think the more education that comes forth, especially with CPS, I think a lot of these families would be better equipped. Because I also can tell you just, and you can, both of you guys can say it, just you go in this fight or flight mode, you know, when people show up and they accuse you of doing things that you know didn't even occur. And the first thing that they tend to do is they tend to hire and give you attorneys for your case to represent you. Well, those attorneys are parties of the state. Like they represent the state's best interest. And the minute you say, well, I want to go pro se, I've seen judges go, no, you're keeping this attorney. Well, you just violated God knows how many freaking rights. And so it's like, for me, the more education that comes forth on federal laws, the Constitution, completely separate from federal laws, clearly, you know, family court, criminal court, I think the more we, the people, can kind of pull back and take a little bit more comfort and relaxation in the fact that like the ball is truly in our court. You know, we all have this presence, you know, when we walk in. I mean, Tiff, like I can tell you right now, I think people think I'm like this mean pit bull, but I mean, I'm just a fluffy teddy bear. Okay. Like I think that's the presence that some of us have.
I can attest she's really not the mean pit bull. Neither is this one that just poked on the camera.
But I think my thing is like we need to continue to bring education to the forefront of this because these families are scared. I spoke to a mom in Virginia, I want to say a week ago, and she has been fighting the appeal system for a very, very long time. And the administrative court ended up holding her case in her favor, but then the lower courts didn't actually do anything. And then I've seen it firsthand where judges are taking retractions of divorces and adoptions, and they're not mandating that a kid get returned because they noticed that there was fraud on a case, you know? And so I've seen things, and I want to say I've been advocating really, truly military and veterans and dependas, because I'm a dependa, you know, before I even got into CPS or, I mean, I have constitutional, but not as cool as this one to this, you know, like I always deflect everything to her, you know, because I'm still learning. But I think there needs to be more education because even Kevin says it. The problem is too, there's not a license, Kevin. I mean, these attorneys have a membership card. You know, there's not an actual license. You know, I can go be a counselor and I'm required to be licensed. Well, go look up the licensing laws for an attorney. A licensing law for an attorney is a membership bar card. And anybody you ask is it's like no different than Amnesty International. So it's like, it's the terminology, I think, too, that people need to understand. And the other aspect, too, is every state has different laws. So even if you weigh on the Constitution, you still have to go back to your state's Constitution. You still have to exhaust all options. But the problem is, in the majority of these cases, the options are exhausted the minute you go into a family courtroom and you say, you're violating my Fourth Amendment right. You're violating, my 14th Amendment. You're violating my Second Amendment. And the minute you do that, they automatically turn biased on you. So even if you were to appeal something, are you going to get an unbiased decision? No, because they're all in bed together. And so it's like, it's forcing these families to go to the highest court, the Supreme Courts of the state. Well, the problem is in some states like South Carolina, North Carolina, West Virginia, Rhode Island, Virginia, these judges from the lower courts are in bed with the Supreme Court justices.
The only way I was able to get as many kids back as I have helped get kids home is through the Supreme Court. I cannot do it through family court. It's too corrupt.
But even in some of the Supreme Courts on those smaller states, everybody knows everybody. And that's the other thing is
West Virginia, I do have that problem sometimes, but you have to go back, reword the appeal or reword the thing that you're sending to the Supreme Court, fine tune it, throw it back in, do it again. And yeah, it's not as simple, easy, quick thing because Supreme Court takes forever to get through those things.
And I think that's what's frustrating too, is like some of these kids are in life and death situations and the only reprieve for these families is the Supreme Court.
Yeah. And if you guys want us to help you, I mean, yeah, we'll help you, but you can't give us like a day and a half warning that you have court the next day or, I need this back within 14 days. We do not have just 1 or 2 or 3 clients. You're looking at people that have hundreds. I mean, me alone, just with the state of West Virginia, I probably have 200-300 people right there. Easy.
I think right now, because I came on to Families United, and it's global, but we're swapping the ending of it. We're building a team with Wicked Warriors and everybody else. I mean, this is not something that one person can do too. And I think that's the other aspect. A lot of these clients that come to these tables and they're like, help, help, help. Because trust me, I've been there. They don't understand. And it took me a while to understand this. Sometimes you don't just need one person. Sometimes you need an entire army behind you to basically go through the loopholes and make sure that when you then are submitting it to the higher level court, you're not having to go back and repeat yourself, And so when somebody contacts you, Spanny, and you contact Tiff or me or somebody else, I
always tell people I work with a team. I've never done this alone. Yeah. If I don't know the answer, I go find the answer. And if I can't find the answer, I pass it on to pass that client on to somebody else that I know that knows the answer. I will be the first to tell you that I don't know everything. My main thing is Supreme Courts. I don't know the federal courts very well. I don't know family courts very well. But Supreme Court, I get people tossed at me all the time for terminated rights because I'm one of the best advocates on that. I will not say I'm the best, but I'll say I'm one of the best.
Tiff, she is. I mean, she's the best for that.
Yes, she is.
But if you guys got, if you still have the children in foster care and you still have your rights, I'm going to tell you because usually when I get you guys a week before the termination trial or a week before or 2 days before. Sometimes I get it the day of, and it's just like there's not a damn thing I can do for you. You're going to go in there and your rights are going to get terminated and we'll go from there.
I always like to say, well, I'd like to say if anybody for constitutional, like hands down Tiff, like that's it. Like she's just the wealth of knowledge on that.
She's the person I go to when babies are getting ready to be taken from the hospital too, because I can tell them what to say, but at the end of the day, Tiffany's the one that can get on the phone and chew them out.
Oh yeah. Look, I told this one guy, This one guy, his newborn baby just came home, and see the doctor released them. They went home. I actually got referred to him by another advocate, and I said, you know what? I told him his rights. I sent him some cases, and this is my exact words to him. If back up, put me on speakerphone. I literally chew them up and spit them out. They're my snack. That's what I told him. And guess what? She didn't come back. 90 days, no contact, no case.
Yeah, and another thing is you guys are all going to have to be patient with me. I am sick. I am not helping very many people right now. The ones I am helping are like emergency situations at the moment. When I'm feeling better, I will help more. But as for right now, I'll probably just either ignore you or pass you off to Tiffany or Amber.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Well,
And I think down where I'm at is, I'm going to be frank too, I'm still fighting through a lot of my personal shit, trying to figure out which jurisdiction and doing all of this. I mean, we just had a case somewhere along the lines down here, and we spent, I think, 6 days prepping somebody to advocate for themselves.
2 hours.
2 hours. And I think it was like that proud mom moment where it's like, I'm not an attorney, I'm an advocate. And at that same point, you know, our purpose is to try to get people to learn this stuff, to do it themselves, because you can't hold their hand the entire time. And so watching this person go in front of this judge, and I'll never forget it, because she literally, the judge goes, do you think there needs to be a drug test? Now, mind you, typically I would say, don't, you know what I mean? But in this case, she just like literally goes, yeah, I think it needs to be a hair follicle test and this and that. And this girl's only like 5'5", you know, she's just 26-year-old. And you just sit there back and you're kind of like sitting in the bench and you're like, okay. And it's like you're watching this judge, and I don't like when CPS gets called into these courtrooms. But this judge, I've seen this judge literally, like, they had a right to call CPS in, okay? That's how bad it was. And for this judge to literally look at the other party's attorney and go, do you think that there's actual A, B, C, and D? And he just kept like running into a wall. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I almost had to leave the courtroom because Dave's like, and I am trying so hard not to bust out laughing, because this attorney kept talking about shit, excuse my language, that happened 5 years ago with a kid that's not even a minor anymore. And the judge is like, listen, I don't want to hear this shit. Do you have this, and this? And the funniest thing was the attorney ended up helping the actual party that they weren't even aware was a guardian for freaking 6 years. And so you see this attorney in the middle of this hearing go, yeah, I think there's this, and this. And you just see his client go, like, it was like a what the hell moment. It was the greatest freaking thing ever to see that. Like, when you spend time with these people and your clients, and you get to like walk them through everything, and you tell them, all right, well, you need this, and this. I think the best thing is like teaching people how to pro se themselves, because judges hate it. And at the same point, it's been exciting because I got to watch her literally walk out, you know, and it was something that shouldn't have even occurred. And here she is, 26 years old, now wants to get into, you know, law and criminal justice, because I feel like in those moments, it's those clients that you work with that they find that like passion and knack. They like have this inner light bulb turn on, and you're like, that's like a proud mom moment. Like, and she was like, how did we do? And we're like, you were like perfect for this, you know? And it was kind of cool, you know, totally off topic, but it's cool to see clients actually find their inner voice. It's giving your voice that freedom to let it ring, to let it just all hang out, because you know, a lot of these parents have a lot to freaking say. So when you coach them into how to be direct without the emotions, they're freaking rock stars. But you gotta have that connection, you know? And I know Spanny's been sick and I need her to get better. And I know you need to get better. It's just been wild, and we just need to be, doing more educating on these parents, because a lot of these people, I didn't even know it. I'll be frank with you. I mean, I dealt with stuff for 4 years before they retaliated after I filed my Supreme Court DC motion 3 days later. There was no need for what happened. But at the same point, if I would have known now what I knew back then, I actually wouldn't be sitting where I'm at. Like, I wouldn't have met everybody. We wouldn't have this family, this team. And I think that's a lot of people's stuff too, is they need to look and they need to like process, like, why did God bring me to this point? Because it's like, you got to go to hell to die, to be reborn and rise again. Well, when you're reborn, what are you doing? We're all a bunch of warriors sitting here trying to help all of these families not be separated. And back to the original thing with the Biden-Harris thing, they need to not use this as another cover up, because you've got all sorts of stuff. So if they're going to do it, I hope that they have the decency to actually, have a merit board review.
Biden in January. What's going to happen with this? Okay, Trump is going to win. Everybody in America already knows Trump's going to win. Okay, anybody who can't see it is blind. Okay, and I'm not a political person. I don't care who the president is. As far as I'm concerned, he personally does nothing for Tiffany. Okay, that's how I feel. But getting back to pro se, they don't like it, but they do give you a leeway, right? Because we aren't, right? Our pro se, you do get a little bit more leeway because, sometimes you got to play dumb to get some sympathy. So you got to, go through books, not like, oh, hold on, Your Honor, I got it right here. And people do need to learn the law. But the superior law of the land is the Constitution. There is no law above it. No one is above it. Okay? And if you get this book right here.
Wait, you forgot Schaefer's above it.
Huh?
I said, wait, you forgot Schaefer's above it.
No. Schaefer is not above the law. It's funny because if I ever had to go in front of Schaefer and he thought that he was above the law, I don't always have a filter, okay? And most of the time I do not have a filter. And I don't care who you are, right? My exact words to him would be, with all due respect, who the fuck died and said you were above the Constitution? Please tell me, because whoever did that for you needs to do that for me. There was only one person, right? There was only one person that died on the cross. It wasn't you.
Yep.
And that's what people have to get, right? They have to get in their mindset that it doesn't matter if you should not be fearing these people. We pay these people. We pay social services. We pay the police. We pay for the courthouse. We pay for all of that. Okay? We do. And as soon as people really understand that, I have people tell me I'm bored tough or some shit, No, it's because in my mind, you are no better than me. I don't care if you got a PhD or an MD or whatever, all them alphabets go behind all that. It doesn't matter to me because they didn't say because you had an education, you were better than me, right? Fanny, how many times have you heard parents come and tell me, because I know I've heard a lot, that they got all these high school diplomas and all these college stuff. I mean, they got all this bachelor's, and CPS will tell them that doesn't matter to us.
Oh,
right?
I'll chime in on that one. Because I'll chime in on this one.
Hold on. Wait, you can. Just one more thing. This is what I would say to a CPS worker. So if my degrees don't count, your degrees don't count. Who are you?
Tiffany.
Go ahead, Amber.
Tiffany, your mic's cutting
Your
out.
mic
We only
got
caught part of
out.
that.
I'll pipe in on this. I have a bachelor's in pre-law and politics. Okay. I went to school because I thought it'd be cool to be a bar whore. Okay. And I say that because it's a thing and it's like, let me get my cool card. I went to school to go back to be an attorney. I did not in my entire life think that I would waste 4 fucking, excuse my language, years doing the same classes that you would do getting your JD. Okay. And as I'm going through this, I will tell you, especially speaking to attorneys now, they will tell you they wish they never would have gone to law school because it was the worst mistake that they ever made. It kills your spirit. You don't actually get real life experience. And at the end of the day, I'm 4 classes away from my master's in crisis and trauma counseling. Let me throw my degrees around because it doesn't fucking matter. And I say this because until you've experienced this shit in real life and you understand it and you are forced, basically force fed to learn the laws, to learn your rights, to learn how things work, you could have a PhD, you could have 9 PhDs. And at the end of the day, the way that the loophole laws are, the way that this country is, the way that these agents are acting and these false actors and all of this stuff, at the end of the day, it will never prepare you to walk in front of a courtroom because I've seen it firsthand this past week with attorneys, okay? It will never prepare you for the real life experience because you cannot predict how a judge is going to take your demeanor. You cannot predict how a judge or a social worker or law enforcement or any of these people are going to actually, you cannot change somebody else's mind, okay? And that is the first mistake of all of these. Well, I've got a bar card and I've got a PhD and I've got yada, yada, yada. Cool on you. But at the end of the day, that doesn't make you better than anybody else. And it speaks volumes when people literally have high school diplomas, don't have high school diplomas. Here they are now, 30, 40 years in advocacy, and they're doing circles around these barred attorneys. And what? And it's like, I totally am all on board for people going to get an education. But you know what? This is the hard knock school of life. And until you've experienced it, nope, you haven't experienced anything. And I used to be that judgy person. I wanted, again, to go be an attorney. I now will probably finish that just to check a box to like flip people off, But in my need, I can walk into a courtroom now because we just did it with a client and teaching them how to be pro se. I just watched somebody come back from hell in a matter of, 2 hours, whatever it is, working with them, putting things together to walk into that courtroom and own it. And so for me, I don't think you need a degree. And if they're going to give a degree, you might as well give honorary, freaking bar cards to all these advocates that are sitting here bleeding and literally living these stories, because we're not just advocates, we're life coaches. We actually matter. And so it's like,
Oh, hell no. I don't want one of those cards.
now, see my point? That's pretty bad. Do you see? Like, why do we have this? And so it's like, it's a hierarchy that doesn't exist and shouldn't exist, but it does exist. And so
I'm pretty sure Tiffany agrees with me. She don't want one either.
I just want one to just freaking. But it's like, but do you see my point? It's like, why push people to go in this box? Why sit here and judge somebody? Well, you know what? You didn't finish 5th grade, but you've got a knack for whatever it is. Like, why? Because we the people stopped realizing that we're human beings and like our opinions matter and we don't have to have a degree to make it somewhere in life. So I think for me, I've lived it, breathed it. And again, I hold on this statement. If you had asked me 2 years ago if I thought I'd be where I'm at today, I would have laughed. I would have literally laughed. And I would have been like, if you would ask me when I went for my pre-law degree, did I think that I would find out in the end it wasn't worth it because it was the school of hard knocks that I needed? I would have said you were crazy. Now I'm sitting here going, well, I have, the foundation of this country to depend on. You have the Constitution. You have all of this stuff. We, the people, need to start using it. And I would have been afraid to go pro se 4 or 5 years ago because I threw money into an attorney that literally threatened me and said, if you keep pushing and you keep pushing to expose this, I will make sure they come after your kids. I will make sure that I talk to the judges. Good. I'm glad you acted on it. But at the same point, you are no better than me. And when I'm telling you that and this, and this, that's not criminally acceptable or civilly acceptable, I'm sorry that my 5'6" presence scares you, because I shouldn't have to know more than somebody that went and paid $200,000 for a degree. But the problem is, it was designed to kill your spirit, and it was designed to literally just make you feel like you're better than somebody else when nobody's better than anybody else. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with all of that. And I'm pushing to not go to law school, but I'm sick of people literally going, well, you need this. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Judge doesn't even have a law license. Ask the judge for his law license. He doesn't have one, or she, whoever. Nobody has a law license. Nobody. They can't license the law. It's public. Public law. Everybody. We citizens are supposed to know what our rights are, what our laws are, who's supposed to be our representatives. Of course, we can't count on any of them, but that's another whole other story. And you're right, Amber. The only way to learn is to live it, because that is the best experience. Nobody can teach you the experiences that you've had, but the experiences that you have different from mine, from Spanny. All of our experiences are different. There is no higher degree than life experience, period.
Speaking of life experiences, I think we need to wrap it up, guys. I just got a text that my friend's house burned down last night.
Oh, dear God. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Valentine's Day or no? What are we doing?
Let's skip Valentine's Day. We'll do it another day.
All right. We'll take that one off. And we'll get together and talk about how we're going to start educating people.
Yeah.
All right. Spanny.
That's where all of this.
God bless your friend's heart.
Thank you.
What's it?
Yep. We'll talk to you guys later. We're going to end the stream here, guys. Yeah.